your mind.
Hello and welcome to Open Your Mind Radio. You have myself, Alan James.
Ah, myself, Stephen George. Good evening.
Good evening. It's the 17th of February 2019. And just to let our listeners know before we get into the show that, you know, we had one or two software problems with the software that we have, the broadcasting software. Well, the company sent us a debug version, which we're running at the moment. So hopefully it's trapping all the issues and the errors if it comes across any. And then we can actually send the log files back to them and they can scan and check to see what the problems are. Now, one of the main problems that we had was when we got to the end of the interview, the music, even though we finished the interview and then brought the music in, the music would kind of rewind a minute or two and wipe out part of the end of the interview. Now, luckily we have a backup DRP system that records the show also, and we can take the part from there. But we are running a debug at the moment, so bear with us. But if there is any problems and you come across them or any issues, just go to the chat room and type it in the chat room and let us know, and we can log that and then let them know as well. Right, okay, our guest on the show tonight is a chap called Steve Ozanich, and he's going to be talking about a chap called Dr. Sardo, who is he goes into healing, self-healing, and we're going to find out all about that. It sounds very, very interesting when you can empower yourself to heal yourself. So we'll be bringing Steve on in a few minutes, but before we go on and talk about our bits and pieces, let's find out what the communication channels are.
Okay, folks, communication channels.
The communication channels are email info@oymireland.com, by phone 046 927 1212, and you can also contact us direct through the OYM chat room.
Yes, thank you, Mary. As she said, 0469271212 is the phone number if you want to give us a call during the show if you have any questions for our guest this evening. If you're going to call from outside the Republic of Ireland, the number is going to be 003534692711212. And also, we do have the chat rooms as well. If you log on to the OYMradio.com website, you will see a link there for the chat room. And if you have a username and password, you can log straight in there. And there's a nice bunch of friendly individuals waiting there to be your friend, be your buddy, have a chat. We also monitor the chat room as well for the questions, and also on peoplesinternetradio.com. We'll be watching there for the questions, and an equally friendly bunch of people over there, so big hi to everyone. Also on our own website there, you will see the links for the YouTube channel, for the Skype and the social media, Facebook, Twitter, MeWe, and also the email address, which is info@oymradio.com. And if you would like to drop us an email during the show or during the week, just to say hi, let us know where you're listening in from, or if you have any ideas for guests for future shows, that would also be appreciated. And on the website there as well, you will see we are on the Patreon network as well, the Patreon platform. So if you want to join us on the platform there, do click the link down the bottom, and you can be privy to some of the blogs that we do from time to time on the Patreon, and also to know that your donations are going to a worthwhile cause, keeping the wheels in motion. Also on the website there's links to a lot of previous podcasts that we have done, and also a lot of great information as well for your viewing pleasure. I think that's everything. Alan.
Okay, you want to kick us off?
Yes. We have some information from Tiger Reborn, and it says, conspiracy exposed. A reliable source has confirmed Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil, they're two of the Irish political parties, have already agreed on what the next government will look like after the next general election. Each party will get 10 ministerial posts. The party with the most seats gets the Taoiseach. This means both parties have merged as one and are working together, but this means it goes much deeper than we thought. Even though Fine Gael are supposedly a minority government, the reality is Fianna Fáil are backing them. This means Micheál Martin isn't an opposition leader at all. He is the co-leader of the government. This also means nothing will change for the next 6 years or so under the secretive deal. Martin has bought off the Fianna Fáil front bench with ministers' jobs, so not to challenge his leadership, and not to really challenge the Fine Gael government on things like housing crisis and health, etc. So, I mean, there we go. So, I mean, you know, we hear all these things on the Oireachtas report, and, you know, you'll see it live on TV, where they're having a pop at one another. And as we've said it before from time to time, that even though they're all having a go with each other, and, you know, they're slinging mud from one side to the other from the opposition, once the cameras go off and they go into the Dáil bar, they're all best buddies anyway.
It's all theatre.
That's it.
And the thing is, even if they don't like themselves, they have to work, like each other, I should say. They have to work together to keep the scam going. It's like mafia gangs. Mafia gangs mightn't get on with each other, but to carry on what they do, they need to work together. And the political parties are exactly the same, to keep the rouge going. So, you know, that's how it works. Right, okay, now, probably some of you have known or seen that Ben Gilroy has been sent back to jail to finish his 3-month sentence. He did get out under habeas corpus, and there was a court case, and he went in, he argued the point, but apparently the judge seeing things differently, and he was sent back to Mountjoy Prison to finish off his sentence. So I'm not too sure what the next step is there, whether Ben's going to be looking to again fight the system, or whether he's going to accept the fact and just, you know, do the actual time. But interesting that we have Ben in there, we have Brian McCarthy in there, we have a number of other people there. Tony Rochford is there, and a few other guys are in jail at the moment. So, you know, it's just the way it is, you know, in 2019. You know, things are ramping up, and I do believe that they might be fearing the fact that people are beginning to wake up and see what's going on. You know, especially with the fact that the government parties are looking to work together. You know, that's all a sign of desperation.
Of course it is. I mean, don't be surprised if we hear over the next couple of months or even years that they're going to be building more prisons. Because they're going to need somewhere to put everyone in the country.
Yeah, exactly. You're number 3?
I am number 3. A group of protesters paid a visit to Simon Harris. Simon Harris is the Minister for Health, and I use that term very loosely. And he said it was very frightening for him and for his family. Well, how do you think people feel when you have thugs turning up from the banks to evict them? You know, I mean, he doesn't really care too much about that. But I mean, the protesters were peacefully protesting. They had some banners and some placards, and they stood outside his house. Now, they weren't unruly, and they weren't being violent, and they weren't breaking into his home and dragging him out of it. So, I mean, as much as he probably said it for the media that he feared for his life and he was really fearful and all this carry on, he had nothing to fear, because, you know, you can see the pictures. They're all over the social media, and, you know, the protesters that we do have protesting, they are all peaceful. That is the name of the game. The name is peaceful protest. So, I mean, he really had nothing to fear from. It's just another PR stunt for him.
Yeah, exactly. And he'd nothing to worry about. I mean, imagine thugs turning up in balaclavas, wanting to kick down your door to pull you out of your house. That's something to be fearful. So he didn't have to worry about it. But it gives him a taste of a little bit of fear of what people are experiencing regarding eviction. And they did the same thing to Leo Varadkar's house. And this was the Independent.ie said protesters targeting Leo Varadkar's home branded unfair by the minister. Well, Minister, I'll tell you what's unfair. Evicting people from their homes. We're using thugs to do it. That's pretty much unfair. I mean, talk about hypocrisy. Unbelievable. And there was a female guard that was there talking to the protesters. And she was saying, oh, well, you know, there's a neighbourhood here and there's kids in bed and the cars are going up and down, beeping their horns. And the guy said, well, we're peaceful protesting, we're allowed to do this. I would have said to the guard, well, go and arrest the guy beeping the horn. We don't know who he is.
Yep.
We didn't ask him to go up and down and beep the horn. Go and arrest him. It's like it's their responsible because your man beeps the horn. So if you beep your horn, am I responsible for you beeping your horn? I mean, seriously, come on. Of course, you know, as usual, there was a bit, I think they tried to antagonise the protesters. And as the old saying says, the trouble only starts when the Gardaí turn up. So I think that was the case there. But how's your week?
Yeah, my week's been fine. Not very eventful, I have to say, in any way, shape or form. With all that's kind of been going on during the week, as we've just kind of mentioned a few of the topics, a few of the highlights there, it's going on. People are still waking up, but I mean, I think, the fact that a lot of this stuff that we are seeing, and we're seeing it kind of on the likes of Facebook and the old anti-social or / social media, is where we're kind of getting a lot of this information. A lot of it is not actually making it to mainstream, and it's certainly not making it onto the hourly news, the news on the hour to keep you abreast of what's happening allegedly in the country and across the world. So, a lot of it is kind of going unnoticed. There has been a lot of protests, and I actually should have flicked to the next page. Well, I'm guessing you're going to be talking about it, about Gemma during the week. There's so much going on, and but of course, like I say, you have to be clued in. You have to know where to be getting the information. There's a load of different websites and kind of Facebook pages that you could go to, and you may get the information. But for Joe Public, I mean, when you have people like us who are kind of involved, we know the different sites to go to, we know who to kind of speak with to get the proper up-to-date information, but there's no real kind of centralised place to get it, and there should be, because everyone else in the country will switch on the news at 6 o'clock and 9 o'clock, and if it's not on the news, then it didn't happen, so we need to get a little bit more organised. Anyway, the only other thing I want to mention is Graham on People's Internet Radio. Graham kind of put me on to a video there a couple of weeks back in relation to liposomal vitamin C. I did order some of the liposomal vitamin C before. I wanted to try it, try before you buy. So I was going to get the bits and pieces involved and actually make the product myself at home. But I wanted to try it first. So I've been kind of using it now for the past week. And I'm still waking up in the morning, I still go to work, I still come home at night, and I'm still tired before bedtime, so I'm not sure if it's doing anything at all. Maybe I need to try for another couple of weeks, but just to say, I will kind of give a report maybe the same time next week as well, just to let people know if there's any difference. I haven't gotten any ideas about running marathons or anything like that, but I'm assuming that it is the vitamin C is getting into the fibres, into the cells that need it most. So anyway, unless I look any different to you, am I looking any better, stronger, faster?
Well, no? apart from the boobs and the blonde hair, you're fine.
Yes, okay. Right, there we go. That's it. Done and dusted. How's your week?
Not too bad. By the way, how was your Valentine's Day?
My Valentine's Day? Well, it wasn't spent in the conventional way, because anyone who's familiar with religious ceremonies in Ireland, confirmations, my son, his classmate that done the confirmation thing on Thursday, so that's pretty much what I done, and we ended up kind of just going out for a bit of a family meal in a local restaurant, and I just want to say nobody got food poisoning. Yeah.
My voice is much better now.
It is. Yeah. Are you looking much better too?
Yeah.
You must be about a dress size 6 now, are you?
Yeah, I'll tell you, after all that, my voice is definitely better after last week. I actually got worse after the show, because I shouldn't have been talking. On the Monday I could barely talk, but that
must have been horrible for you.
Yeah, it was.
Alan not being able to talk.
I tell you. Right, okay, well look, not much happening. Well, there's loads of things happening during the week, and there's a lot of interviews and things being done online, videos. And just a couple of things people have said about, we should get Gemma on the show. I just want to kind of clarify. We've actually asked Gemma to come on the show, but so far there's no interest for Gemma coming on the show for whatever reason. So just to clarify that, because again today we got a Facebook message by somebody saying, oh, you should get Gemma on OYM. We've asked Gemma to be on OYM, so we leave that with her. If she's more than welcome coming on, we're happy to have a chat with Gemma if she wants to come on. So we'll leave that with her. But there's a load of interviews going around that she's done, and she's interviewed people, and there's a lot being exposed. As you say, there is an awful lot going on, and more people are waking up to what's going on, which is good to see. And may hopefully the awakening process continue. and people start asking questions, but you're still getting people. I did post a couple of things on my personal Facebook page today, and people who have access to that can have a read, just about the difference between religion and spirituality. And a few things that Thomas mentioned on his show as well, pointing out the obvious, and you have to ask yourself and question the things that you believe in. And that's really, the post is up there. Whether I post it over to OYM, I'll have a think about that. Anyway, we're going to get our guest on now. Now, our guest is a chap called Steve Ozanich, and he is a supporter and he knew Dr. Sarno before he passed away. And he's a lot of information regarding Dr. Sarno's healing procedure, or what's involved in it. And it's all kind of new to us, so we're quite interested to find out what it's all about, especially for people if it gives you the ability to heal yourself or empower yourself by mind over matter, it's what it sounds like. But we'll get into it. Before we bring Steve on, let's find out about Steve. You have his bio there.
Okay, Steve Ozanich is a mind-body health consultant and author who wrote the 2-time International Book Award honoree, The Great Pain Deception, and Dr. John Sarno's Top 10 Healing Discoveries, based on his own experience. The work of Dr. John E. Sarno, MD, and 10 years of research. Steve's third book, Back Pain, Permanent Healing, Understanding the Myths, Lies and Confusion, is an Amazon #1 bestseller, a 3-year writing effort to pull the larger picture of suffering together in order to erase the confusion in healing. Over the past 18 years, Steve has helped to teach tens of thousands of people how to heal themselves through his lectures, books, articles and interviews. And he's also available for consultation, and you can check out his website at www.steveozanich.com.
Good evening, Steve. How are you doing?
Hi there, Alan and Steve. I'm doing great.
Great stuff. Listen, thanks a lot for coming on the show. We kind of came across actually, tell a lie, I think a listener sent us in a link to Dr. Sarno, or information about, this book that they purchased, and they said that, they were reading the book and they practiced what was in the book, and then they healed themselves. And I thought, well, that's quite amazing to be able to do that. And then we obviously went on the search to try and find someone that could tell us all about it, and we came across yourself, which is brilliant. So, do you want to talk about your background first, and how you know Dr. Sarno, and how you got involved, and then we can get into who Dr. Sarno is?
Sure. I started having severe pain when I was 14 years old, and it lasted just about 30 years. And like everyone else, I had tried everything. I mean, stretching, poking, stabbing, medication, hanging upside down like a bat, trying to stretch out the spinal discs. But it got so bad in the late 1990s that my left leg was actually paralyzed. I had to drag it around for almost a year. My foot had dropped. I lost all the reflexes in the leg, all the sensation, everything except the upper quadricep. And of course, I was being told the entire time, you have a pinched nerve there. We've got to get the pressure off that nerve because the disc is pressing on the nerve. But it was never true. But I did come across his work, and I rejected it outright. I thought he was insane because I had a paralyzed leg. How could this not be from the structure of the body? Well, I got worse and worse, and I began fading at one point. I'd lost over 50 pounds. I was crawling around on my hands and knees, and I went back to his book, and I ended up healing. And so I basically gave up everything I was doing in my life to dedicate it to spreading this message to people around the world, and I've been doing it for about 19 years now. And, of course, his work is called TMS, and we can talk about that if you want to.
Yeah, of course. Well, if you give us a bit of a background with who Dr. Sarno is, and then we'll get into the TMS system that he uses or he recommends.
Sure. He worked at the New York University Medical Center. It was called the Langone Center. He passed away in 2017, one day before he turned 94 years old, and one day before his documentary was released, which was called All the Rage. And he basically started there right out of college. They invited him to run the outpatient center there, so he must have been a very brilliant student in college. But he said, I was so frustrated with my back pain patients. I was doing all the conventional things, and it wasn't working. It was driving him crazy, and so he started looking deeper into the work, into their reports, and he noticed, hey, these people who have back pain also have many other things like allergies and skin problems and tinnitus and, well, you name it. They had a host of problems. So he began to wonder, some of these things on there are effects of stress and tension. I'm wondering if back pain could be too. And so he started to tell these people that there was nothing wrong with them. Even though there's a herniation there, and even though there was arthritis in their hip, or there was a tear in the meniscus in the knee, or in the rotator cuff in the shoulder, that was not the cause of it, of the pain, that it was coming from a reduction in blood flow via the autonomic nervous system because of all the stress and tension. And they began to heal right in front of him. And I've had that happen many times, too, while Skyping with people. They would heal after 5-10 years of pain. Something about the awareness of what's going on is the healing mechanism. And it's because the brain wants you to think you have something wrong with your body because of certain things that are going on in your psyche that you do not want to face because there's too much demanded of you or there's some type of trauma that's happened in your life. And so the brain, as he said it, does you a favor, creates a symptom in your body so that you have to rivet your full attention on your body and obsess on trying to fix it, when there's actually nothing wrong with the body. But the brain is so clever, it will attack changes in the body like herniations or stenosis and narrowing or crookedness or tears, like I said, or arthritis in the bones, to make you think that your symptoms are coming from those physical structural changes. But it is not. We are way past that Rubicon now. I mean, that's about 50 years old, that type of archaic thinking, because of Dr. Sardo. And so I've said it many times, he changed the world forever as far as the medical industry is concerned, but the world does not know it yet because they're still locked up in these conventional treatments that do not work.
Okay. And they let him practice this, even though it was kind of unconventional.
Oh, that's a very good question. They hated him, as you can imagine, because his solution is don't do anything. Your brain wants you to try to fix the body, to think that something's wrong with it. That's why it's creating these symptoms. And so, but he happened to be an elderly gentleman at the time, and an established professor, and they kind of just ignored him and just pushed him out of the picture because they really couldn't fire him. He was so well respected. And so they pushed him out of teaching. He was a full-blown professor there teaching. They pulled that away from him. He quit eating in the cafeteria with the other physicians because they would mock him out loud and actually to his face. And so they kind of just treated him as some type of crazy nut in the corner, and just belittled him. But, Forbes magazine had a great article on him, I think in 2015 or 16, that said, they called him America's Best Doctor. That was the title of the article, America's Best Doctor. And in that article, the guy who was healed by his work, by the way, the writer of the article, said, why do these things that are considered mainstream medicine, they don't work. They simply don't work, but they call it mainstream medicine. And why his method works virtually every single time is considered some type of wacky alternative thing. That was a great question because it does work virtually every single time, but there's a huge caveat here. You have to believe it, which almost no one does because they see the images, the MRIs, the X-rays, they see arthritis, they see narrowing, they see herniations, they see tearing. And because the pain is right there, they think that's the cause. But that's not what's happening. The brain is actually attacking those sites. And I see healing virtually every single day. His work works every single day. And yet, not many people believe it, it's actually a tragedy. He never really got to see the great successes, but
okay. Well, I want you to talk us through a typical example, because if you go to a doctor and they do an X-ray and they see degeneration of your joint with arthritis or something like that, I mean, they're seeing a physical change from the X-ray. So can you talk us through a typical example or some case histories that you've heard and tell us the process.
Sure. I mean, I literally have tens of thousands of these examples through over the past 20 years. But the most common one, of course, is the herniated disc in the back. You bend over to pick something up. You feel a spike of pain in your back. You run to the doctor, and they take an MRI, and they say, look, it's herniated. It's pinching that nerve. We've got to get the pressure off that nerve. But that's not what is going on. Usually they're in a TMS state. They've got a lot of stress on themselves. They've got a lot of demands on themselves. They're either going through school to get their master's or doctorate, or they've had a loved one die, or they've just had a newborn baby, or something's going on there, which I call a TMS state. And so the brain is constantly looking for triggers at any time, some excuse. And so bending, of course, is the most common one. They hear a popping sound in their back, and they think there's some damage has been done, but there's no damage that's been done. And a noise cannot hurt you. It's impossible that a noise could hurt anybody. But they think that they've done great damage. And, of course, the imaging comes along to prove it, like you just said. The physician will say, well, look, there's narrowing there, that's crooked there, there's arthritis there, there's a herniation there. But we know from this work that those things are incidental to the findings, that they were there beforehand, before the pain started. And so it is a complete shift in the paradigm of understanding our health. And he said in his great book, his last book that was called The Divided Mind, which means there's a conflict in there. We can talk about that. We have an emotional, intellectual conflict going on within us, that if his ideas were to be accepted, it would be economic chaos within the healthcare industry, and it would collapse. Because even the doctors know that what they're doing, I say most of them know that what they're doing isn't doing anything. Because they've been hired by me to work with them on their health problems, and they've healed rather rapidly, and then they'll go back and they'll continue to do the surgeries, or they'll do this because that's their income. You know, there was a guy in 1934 in America. His name was Upton Sinclair. He ran for governor of California and had lost. And I was reading a paper of his that he had written in 1934. And he said that it is very difficult to get a person to understand something when his salary depends on him not understanding it.
Of course. Well, we had. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's exactly right.
Yeah, no, we had Dr. Lorraine Day on our show, who's an ex-trauma surgeon, and she actually said, and I quote, doctors only good for two things, taking out bodily parts or writing prescriptions.
Well, that is a brave statement, which is true. Now, that's a good point as well. I want to say here clearly, this is not an anti-doctor message.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't hate doctors. We need doctors. The whole world needs good healers. You know, they save a lot of lives. The question here is in the diagnosis. It's not that they're doing the modality wrong. The diagnosis is wrong in the sense that it's a psychological process and not a physical process. And so what are you going to say to somebody? You know, he saw it a lot, of course. The orthopedic surgeon would come in crippled with pain. He would show that person how to heal rapidly, and the surgeon would say to him, how do I go back to my practice now and practice medicine the way that I've been doing it? And he did say before he passed that he ran into one of the guys that said that once. And he said, what did you ever do when you went back? And he said, well, I treat them according to how they want to be treated. If they demand the surgery, I do the surgery. If they want to think about this as a psychological process, I do it that way. And so they kind of ride the fence. That way they get the income, and yet they satisfy their guilt, their internal guilt, you know, knowing that it's not the right thing. But then there are a lot of doctors that simply don't know about this.
Yeah, of course. Well, go ahead.
And so Dr. Sardo would say to me, Steve, don't be too hard on the doctors. I tend to be rough on them because what they did to me in my life. But so I backed off according to his wishes and try to work with them more because they simply don't know. And so you can't blame them at all. Well,
they do one day of homeopathy familiarization, and then the rest is all kind of pharmaceutical because the colleges are sponsored by the pharmaceutical industry. And we've had numerous alternative doctors, proper medical doctors on our show who have kind of backed up this statement. And the thing is also with the doctors that they seem to just treat the symptom and not the cause. And it sounds to me like Dr. Sarno's method of treatment is actually treating the cause and not just the symptom.
Yes, and he said that many, many times. I do not have a program for treating pain. I have a program for treating the cause of it, because it's easy to get rid of symptoms. You can numb it up like crazy if you want to. That's not healing. Getting rid of symptoms is not healing. But that is so true. The medical colleges, the universities that teach them, they don't teach them this. And the TMS physicians that Dr. Sardo had trained, there's still a handful of them still left. They tell me, Steve, even if the doctor knew that this was a psychological process, what would they do with it? They don't know what to do with it, because they're trained to treat you like a car mechanic, put you up on the racks, drain some fluids like the lady Lorraine, I think, said, and take things in and out like a mechanical object.
Yeah. But
the problem is that we are emotional beings, and we run on emotions and motivations and fear and love and things like that. And so this is an amazing paradigm shift, and I'm very proud to be part of this at the tip of the spear here in this movement. Dr. Sardo often referred to me as the messenger in his emails to me, and I'm very honored to be here, and I thank you once again for allowing me to talk about this.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I was just going to say to Steve here, Steve, you do be in pain every now and again. What's your feeling on this, and maybe find out better?
What's my feeling when I'm in pain?
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because I don't suffer with a lot of pain. I used to suffer with pain, and I was kind of we have looked at a lot of different kind of solutions to pain, Steve, over the past couple of years. And the last thing that kind of came up on our radar, one of them was the Pain Genie Skinar treatment. I don't know if you've heard of that, but basically, in a nutshell, the Skinar kind of stimulates the brain into resolving the problems. And so if me or the family are in pain, and depending on what the pain is, I will reach for the Pain Genie device, and we'll kind of treat it that way. And we have a fairly good success rates with that. But
I have an answer for all of those types of questions. I don't know if you saw it last year on the international news, the guy that was in the wheelchair that was on the morphine pump daily, he was in so much pain he could not stand or function. And all day long he hit this button to put this morphine into his system. And they gave him the new high-tech pill, and he was up jogging. And then they told him there was nothing in that pill. This is where Dr. Sardo changed the world and why they hated him so much. He's basically told everyone it's all placebo. The surgeries, the drugs, the chiropractic, all of these things. And so the whole industry could not stand him at some point. But I've seen people heal by accident through many things. And so remember the great George Harrison from the Beatles. He wrote that great song, if you don't know where you're going, any road can take you there. And so at some point, what you're doing is just diverting your awareness once again to something else. And as long as you're wherever you put your awareness, there you are. If you put your awareness on the problem, there it stays. If you put it on the healing modality, it may give you temporary fixes. But the truth is that it's not coming from the body. But then again, we have to say this, as compassionate human beings, when somebody's suffering terribly, you'll do anything.
Yeah.
I mean, if somebody tells me, that drinking ink would help me, I would have done it at that point. I was suffering. And so we have to have compassion, and not to criticize people that do things. We just need to know that these things basically aren't doing anything. I don't know, maybe you guys have interviewed or know David Hamilton from Scotland?
No.
The chemist?
No.
He was one of the first people that I talked to when I started writing The Great Pain Deception. He was a chemist in one of the big pharmaceuticals that developed all these great drugs, of course. And he no longer was there. And I was asking him why. He said, well, there was no statistical difference between placebo and the actual drug ever in any of the drugs. He said, I could see quickly that it wasn't doing anything, And so he's out there basically saying the same thing I am from a different viewpoint, of course, from a chemist's viewpoint. And so if you need relief, take it. If you need a hot water bottle or whatever you're doing, there's nothing wrong with that. But you need to know that those things can actually perpetuate your suffering. Like people say, a chiropractic adjustment felt good. Well, they all do for a day or so.
Yeah, of course.
It didn't get to the cause of it. It just was treating the effect, like you said there. It's treating the symptom.
Yeah.
And so it momentarily diverts your awareness off of it, but it always will come back repetitively until you get to the cause, which is internal, powerful, dangerous emotions.
Okay. I will say, when you made a statement there saying, if you're desperate enough, you'll even drink ink if it gets the pain away. But you'd be surprised, actually, how many people, even though they're in pain, we talk about, say, cannabis oil as a cure for cancer, for example. And there are people who will say, oh, yes, I'll try anything. But there's still people who are, they're offered cannabis oil to cure their cancer or treat their cancer. Will go back into remission or whatever, and they turn it down because the doctor said it's dangerous and not to take it. Literally, they have this solid belief that everything the doctor says is gospel, and then anything outside that, don't go near. Now, if you are desperate enough, and you're open-minded, you will try anything, but unfortunately, we can't assume that for everybody.
Yeah, we have to be responsible here, too. We can't tell people, don't listen to your doctor and just do whatever you want. That's kind of dangerous. We are responsible for our own lives eventually, of course, ultimately. And so, cannabis it relieves pain. It alters your consciousness a little bit, and the disease and pain ultimately come from dysfunctional consciousness. And so, if you need relief, you just need to know it's only treating the effect. It is not treating the cause of it. Dr. Sardo got to the cause of it, which is the mind. It's the conflict that's within the mind between how you're acting to the world and how you feel inside. And so we've got a massive industry out there. And, of course, you guys probably saw the Irish guy that was injecting himself with semen a few months ago to get rid of his back pain. He was all over the national news again. People will try anything.
Well, we've heard about him. We didn't know he was Irish. That's a bit of an insult, isn't it, really? Him being an Irishman doing that with semen. Well, here's the thing. Cancer is, they're saying 1 or 2 people will eventually have cancer due to everything that's in the environment as well as the food. Has Dr. Sarno ever treated that, or have you come across anybody using the Dr. Sarno method to cure themselves of cancer?
Yes, the several with my book, The Great Pain Deception, and I'm sure with his books. He was ending his career in life at that point. As he got deeper into this, he was in his 90s, and he kind of stuck with what he had learned early on. But he could see in the conversations that I had with him, he could see that's where it was going ultimately. But, we also have to say, you can poison yourself. You can give yourself cancer, if you're going to smoke every day for 70 years or drink every day or eat asbestos for breakfast, I suppose. We can bring it on, of course, but many of them, if not most of them, are mind-body effects. As a matter of fact, do you know who Anita Moorjani is?
No.
Her book went to #1 a couple years after my first book came out because her story is so dramatic. She had cancer and died, and crossed over into the other realm, came back to write a book on it. And I think she knows well that it is also, her book title is Dying to Be Me. That's the book title of it. She was from the Indian culture and wasn't allowed to speak, and her husband's already picked out for her, she said, as a little girl. She had no identity. And she states clearly that killed her, ultimately gave her that cancer. But she's back healthy and touring all over the world. I think she was probably just in Ireland recently, too. She's an amazing, amazing person. I'm excited to talk to her soon. She's reading my book right now, supposedly. But I think she would tell you that, too, if you talk to her. Most of these cancers are from mind, from these deep, powerful, dangerous emotions. Remember this, you'll never feel them. People say, of course, I don't feel angry. I don't feel this. Well, of course you won't. That's why you have the symptom. If you felt it, you would not have the symptom. You're not feeling it. This is what we mean by unconscious. You are not aware of it.
All right, so this is something that builds up in the background then. Obviously something on your mind that you're dwelling on maybe, and it's in the back of your mind. And over time, it escalates. Talk us through it.
Yeah, that's a good point, too. You just reminded me of somebody that told me his MS disappeared after reading my book. I guess there's spots in the brain that they see. And he said the spots began disappearing when he began to see what the real cause was here, that it wasn't physiological. It was a mental, emotional conflict. But, yes, there is a process here. This is how I put it when I do lectures. It's a consequence. Our disease or our pain, Our suffering is a consequence. It's that simple. Like a flower growing. A flower is a consequence of dirt and sunshine and water. That's what happens when all of those elements come together. When you are not acting how you want to act, when you are have terrible unconscious behavior patterns, or if your diet's bad or whatever it is, ill health is your consequence. And so the same thing is with great health or wellness. That is a consequence of living your life how you want to live it, with great peace and harmony and joy and happiness and reduction in conflict and ego. The consequence is great health. So ultimately, healing is not something that you do. It's a consequence of a good life. And when there's conflict, and there's always conflict in people that have pain and disease, because they don't want to go there. You don't want to go to work today, or I don't want to do this, or I don't want to do that. Anytime we don't want to do something, all of a sudden, suddenly, your brain does you this favor. Bam, knee pain, back pain, migraines, whatever it is.
Right, okay. Well, there's a few things I don't want to do. You have to do. Right.
And remember, that's consciously. Unconsciously, you do not know.
Yeah, true. So the books that Dr. Sardo wrote, I think, was there 3 books, or did he have a range of books?
He had 4, but most people think there were 3 because his first book was just a teeny little pamphlet, basically, written in the late 1980s called Mind Over Back Pain. But when his second one came out called Healing Back Pain, that one rocked the world forever. If you go on Amazon right now, it's #1 in that category. It's the greatest selling back pain book in history. That's the one that saved my life. Then he came out with one called The Mind-Body Prescription, which a lot of people like. And then the last one was his magnum opus, which was called The Divided Mind. And it talks about, it's basically written for professionals. The last third of the book was written by doctors that he had trained in their respective fields, rheumatology, OBGYNs, GPs, how it's working in each of their practices. They each wrote a chapter. It's beautiful, actually. And I have 3 books that are written on his work. But there's a paragon of examples here that you might want to hear. Her name was Helen. It's one of his patients. She was crippled with pain severely. She was bedridden for a couple years. And the family heard about him in New York, so they got her up there. And he knew when you came in to see him whether you needed therapy or just to attend his lectures. Well, when they told him that she had been bedridden for 2 years, he said, you've really got to speak to somebody here. So he went down to his therapist, and they talked to her, and they uncovered that she had been molested by her father when she was 5 years old. And so they sent her to these incest support groups, and she got worse and worse, and she panicked. And she called him back. She said, Dr. Sardo, I believe you. I believe this is the cause. It's TMS, and this is the answer. But I'm not getting better with the information here. I'm getting worse. But the woman's husband was standing there, and he said to her, yeah, but you're talking about 40 years of repression. And when he said that, she collapsed on the floor. And she started shaking. Her heart was beating erratically. She started seeing her life passing before her eyes. And within a couple minutes, all of her pain was gone. It had disappeared. And so Dr. Sardo began to realize, I see what's going on here. The pain is protecting you. It's blocking this dysfunctional consciousness. It's not allowing you to see things as they truly are. We think that we're acting a certain way, but that's not us. We're not really doing that. We're like little programmed robots, always constantly trying to please the parents at some point. And so he realized at that point, wow, the brain is trying to help us here. It's blocking certain things that we don't want to know. And so you will never know them. You will never know them, and he found it utterly fruitless to try to reach in and try to find these things in people. It doesn't work that way. The awareness that there's nothing wrong with you, and that there's a psychological conflict there, that you're over-demanded, that you're upset, that you're deeply angered at something, is the cause. There's something about knowing that, shedding light into that conflict, that dissolves the conflict, and the people begin to heal virtually every single time. Now, a small percentage will need therapy because they were traumatized as children and severe, psychological trauma in their neural network, and some of them need help. And I've sent some people to his psychologist, but most of the time the books are enough. Sometimes they consult with me, but most of the time just understanding this is enough, which is bizarre. And so you can imagine why they hated him in the medical industry, because that's it, just understanding.
Yeah, it seems quite extreme, in all honesty. It does really sound extreme. That, I mean, we know, we've heard it before, that we have the power to heal ourselves. The power is within us. We don't need the drugs. And when you said about the 40 years that she had to, that was covered up because of the abuse. I mean, we refer to Herring's Law, who was a homeopath in the 1800s, and it's something that we say when we're doing some pain genie work, that he found out that you heal from your head down, organs outwards, and back in time. So you have to do multiple treatments to go back in time to where the pain originally come from. Now, what you're saying is the pain is there to block the original, what really happened at the time, which is the abuse that she experienced. So I'm thinking, how do we translate that into something? Like, Steve, you said you used to have frozen shoulder.
I did, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
And you had the pain of the frozen shoulder. So if we were using you as an example, and the pain was blocking the frozen, blocking you understanding where it was originally coming from. I mean, can you talk us through that, Steve, as a typical example of, with Steve here with his frozen shoulder, how would we apply that?
Sure. Well, my name is Steve, too, and I had frozen shoulder in both shoulders at the same time. And I had to be fed by other people because I could not, anybody with frozen shoulder knows you can't raise your arm. And so people would come several times a day to feed me because it was in both shoulders at the same time. That is TMS. I mean, that is one of the most common examples of TMS. Foot pain, back pain, shoulder pain, knee pain, you name it. And what you would do is gather the information. Okay, that's the first thing. Try to understand what TMS is. It was Dr. Sardo called the first pillar in healing. Gather it. Try to see what's going on here, that there's nothing structurally wrong with the shoulder, even though the images may show something there. They may or may not. Sometimes the herniation is on the left side and the pain's on the right side, but the doctor will still blame it on the herniation. And so once you begin to understand what's going on here and apply your life to this work like a template, that is the beginning of it. But once again, the big caveat here is belief. If you believe something's wrong with the body, you'll never heal the rest of your life because your brain will keep using that. It's a safe haven to run to every time you get overly demanded of. And it's probably not, a molestation or something like that. And most people, it's not. It's just the personality, the demands we put on ourselves. He noted this early on. They're warriors. They push themselves hard to be goodists, to make sure everybody's happy, all the way to the point of perfectionism. And so ultimately, this is really one of the deep aspects of my own work, is that it's a personality disorder. It's not a physical body problem. And, of course, the cancer personality itself was defined by Lawrence Lashon in 1964. And in 1959, Rosenman and what were their names? The two cardiologists, they identified the type A personality that has all the heart problems. Dr. Sardo identified the pain personality, which we call a type T, for someone who generates a lot of tension within themselves to try to be good and try to help people. And so personality is the thing that's really causes our health problems, not the physical body.
Okay,
but of course, I'm sure you know Bruce Lipton's work too, where he's one of the premier cell biologists in the world, and he quit it when he realized it was all dogma, that the cells don't turn on and off. They're either red or not red, that there's no such thing as a cancer gene, he said. We send the signals to the cells to go cancerous. And so we are in the midst of an evolution in human consciousness here, of which Dr. Sardo was a huge part of that, and Lipton, of course, and quite a few others. Okay,
I mean, what I take from that, and that's interesting, is that what you have to do, Steve, is your frozen shoulder, you just don't give a monkeys. That's it. And I'm not being, I'm being serious when I say that.
Right.
You are right. There are people out there who are warriors, and they worry about pleasing everybody and they're concerned that if things don't go their way because they didn't please somebody, there is an individual that we both know that is going through the medical book at the moment. She has everything, and we do see her posts on Facebook every now and again, and she has been offered pain genie treatment, which she hasn't taken us up on at the moment. And because the one thing, I don't know whether you ever heard of Bob Beck, but Bob Beck did a great talk when he was alive. And he said when he cured an engineer of cancer, and the chap ended up committing suicide because he had to compete back in the workplace after being cured with younger engineers. But basically, Bob Beck said, don't assume that everybody wants to be cured or healed, because some people enjoy the actual attention that they get from being in pain rather than being healed.
I'm glad you brought that up. That's a big part of my consultations and my lectures is most people do not want to be healed. Even though they'll consciously say it, they do not, because the unconscious behavioral patterns keep themselves locked in this loop. But once they begin to realize this, that, well, yeah, I am blocking it. Freud called it secondary gain, where they're gaining something more out of it.
Yeah.
But they're not always consciously doing this, of course, but there's a big difference between wanting to get rid of symptoms and wanting to heal. Getting rid of symptoms is different. I mean, you can medicate it, you can numb it up. That's not healing. That's trying to get rid of the effect here. We get rid of the cause of it. And once again, it's protecting them. Like this engineer that you just mentioned there. These are some of the powerful thoughts that causes the brain to create symptoms as suicide. But the people don't even know that they're at that state because it's unconscious, but it's rising to awareness. And they cannot fathom the thought of that. And so the pain intensifies or the disease increases. So this guy Beck, he's right on. And we have to be very careful with these people. You don't mess around with this. It can become very dangerous because it's blocking these dangerous, dark emotions. And so what happens if we heal the person? They're left with those dangerous, dark emotions. And so they will often put up a fight against healing. But whenever you're ready to heal, it's over. Anybody can heal from anything.
What about mental issues? Because we talk about the physical pain in the body, but these days there seems to be a lot of people suffering from mental issues. What's the situation there?
That's another great question. Dr. Sardo, for the most part, with his, general TMS patients, he would yell at them if they thought they had a psychological problem. He would say, no. You do not have a psychological problem. Your problem is that you're too sane. You're coping too well. You've got all these problems in your life. Your mother has just died. You've just gotten a divorce, and all these things are happening, and you're not dealing with it. You're trying to act like everything's going well. You're not dealing with it. You're acting too sane. And as a matter of fact, Carl Menninger, who opened that famous Menninger Clinic in Topeka, Kansas in 1969, it was the first one of its kind in the world. It was amazing. He had noted early on that the people who started to become psychotic, losing touch with reality, their health problems all disappeared. But when they started coming back into what you would call sanity, I guess, all their health problems returned. And so these people at some point, they're trying to cope too well with all their problems. They're not allowing it to unfold in the present moment. And so ultimately, mindfulness work or presence work is the ultimate path to permanent healing here, because your mind's not involved in whether it's a problem or not a problem. It's not having perceptions anymore. It's not taking stances. It's not getting angry anymore. It's just experiencing life moment by moment with presence work. And I just did the first worldwide mindfulness summit in Toronto, Canada last month. And that is ultimately the path to healing. And that's how I did it, but I didn't know what it was at the time. When I was healing, I had no idea what it was. I just went back and started living again, according to Dr. Sarno's work. Start golfing again. Even though I had a paralyzed leg, I started to golf again. Get back to enjoying your life again, and it disappeared.
That's interesting. The question come to mind when you were talking about that, about kind of not so much, don't get too kind of emotional. Now, if you look at, various people in government who we would definitely say could be psychopathic, they lack empathy, so they just don't give a damn and don't care. And it'd be interesting to do a survey as to how many psychopaths actually have issues that we're talking about.
That would be an interesting survey, although it'd be hard for them to admit that they're psychopaths on the survey.
We can pick them out, yeah.
You would choose the ones.
Yeah.
Again, it also reminds me of this. Anybody can go on YouTube and look at any of this stuff that we're talking about here, but there's a rabbi from New York that was talking about Dr. Sardo, and it is just an amazing story. He had back pain so bad, and he went like normal. He went to his neurosurgeon, and the guy said, "Oh, you've got a bad back here. You have to have immediate surgery or you will be paralyzed." Well, he didn't want surgery like most of us. So he went to another one, an orthopedic surgeon, and the guy said, "Oh, man, this back is so bad that the disc has broken off. The spinal disc has fragmented and broken off, and it's hanging there. You're going to be paralyzed. You need surgery." But he said, "I didn't want to do it, so I went to another one, and then another." 4 different professionals all told him the same thing. They can't even touch him. He needs immediate surgery. But he said he heard about this doctor in New York, Dr. Sardo, who talks to people, and their pain goes away. And he said, "I'd never heard anything more ridiculous in my life, but I was scared of surgery like most people are." So he made an appointment with Dr. Sardo, and he went to the nightly lecture, and he hassled Dr. Sardo during the lectures, "But what about this and what about that?" He was putting up a good fight against healing, like we were talking about, against healing. And he said Dr. Sardo pointed at him in the middle of the lecture and said, "You cannot ask any more questions. If you want to talk to me, you can make a private appointment." But the rabbi said 2 days later, the pain disappeared and never returned. There was something about the lecture and understanding that there was nothing wrong that connected with his deeper unconscious, and he healed. And I think he told me that was like 23 years ago. It never returned. It's that powerful. But it's so bizarre that I didn't believe it either. When I first read it, I threw his book against my wall. And now I teach his work around the world. And so I understand when people don't believe this. I get it. I was there.
Well, to be honest with you, being open-minded, that's what we're called, open your mind, we can understand, we've been told time and time again that the power is within us to do what we can do. And it's just the programming of society. And the system tells us we can't do it. And we have to give our energy and power to an external source, whether that be religion or that will be a doctor or a politician or whatever, because that's what they want us to believe. If we all believe and we all can heal ourselves and do that, then the system doesn't work for them.
That was brilliant. Well said. I thank you for saying that. That's it. We are the only healer. We are the only ones. They can give you chemotherapy, and it may do something to help with the effects that may help save you in some way, right? I believe, my personal opinion is that we'll ultimately realize that was the dumbest thing you could do, like trimming back discs, But right now we're at this stage. You ultimately are the one healing yourself, not the chemo, not the surgery. You're the one doing it. But it may be providing that, fortification or the placebo or whatever you want to call it, the healing that you need. The word placebo itself means I shall please. That's what the word means. And so if drinking ink takes away your knee pain, that's what was pleasing you. Your deeper self believed that it was, but it wasn't doing anything. It's you that is the ultimate healer,
That's it.
And so, yeah, it's a good point. I'm glad you made that.
Yeah, no, and they've done loads of trials regarding placebos for people. It's mind over matter. It really is. And people,
Yes.
We need to realise that. Steve, you want to go through the questions there that you have?
Yeah, we've got a couple of questions, actually. We've got a comment as well from Graham and in relation to pain, and I just thought this was worthwhile reading out. Thanks, Graham. Graham says, sadomasochists seem to enjoy pain, allegedly. Just saying. So, thanks, Graham. So, obviously...
That reminds me of a study that I just saw on a dominatrix that they did with pain. It was pretty interesting.
Okay, well, that's another show. Anyway, Slim Boy on People's Internet Radio says, question, so, based on obviously what we're talking about here, did I send myself 2 heart attacks and open heart surgery?
Did he send it?
To himself.
Well, it's an attack. It's the body attacking itself like autoimmune disorder. A lot of people heal from autoimmune disorders at some point. The problem is that if you can't see it, you're not going to be able to see it. until you're ready to do it. Now, of course, we can be dangerously overweight and we can smoke, and we can be out of shape. That can also, be contributing factors to it. But usually they're coming from internal stresses that we're not aware of. Remember, they don't even know about it. It's actually attacking itself at some point. And so, yes, for the most part they are. There could be some really weird thing there, of course. And I don't diagnose people because I'm not a medical doctor, but I do see many, many tens of thousands of people. And these things are part of it. Skin problems, vision problems, heart problems, autoimmune problems, pain problems. Even the immune system is involved. And so, yes, but it's up to the person.
Yeah.
The person is the healer.
Can I just add to that? I mean, it's a relevant question that Slim Boy said, but I'd like to also point out that, and I had to I was talking to somebody during the week about this, about a family member who likes to smoke and likes to drink. And, and we know there's certain foods that you shouldn't go near. And I know it's a cliche, but the more you realize that your body is your temple, and what you put in is what you get out. So if you're going to be smoking or drinking and doing all the wrong stuff, then it's inevitable that something's going to happen. I mean, I don't know what the causes were, Slim Boy, why you got a heart attack. But I'm sure if you were to look back and analyse it, why that happened, you might find that there was something maybe in your diet, in your lifestyle, that obviously wasn't suited for you, that needed to be changed.
That's a good point. And remember, I said it's a consequence. Mm. The heart attack is a consequence of all the things that the person was not aware of.
Yeah.
Was not aware of. And if they are smoking and drinking, that's just going to make it worse. But those things aren't the causative factors. In my work, though, the first question I would ask if I was working with someone like that would be, why are you smoking and drinking so heavy? Mm. Because that's the same thing as TMSing. It's their diversionary tactics, their distractions from the emotional pain.
Yeah, this is the thing. I think we have to take charge of our lives. And I know it's something that I'm trying to do. There's certain things I want to change down the line. I'm working towards that. But there's other things that have changed. Steve's the same. I mean, we've cut out, the likes of the aspartame, the MSG, the fluoride in the water. Some of the food that I've changed a lot of the food. I feel that takeaway foods after last week I had food poisoning by a takeaway. I didn't have a major takeaway. I don't like takeaway food. I just feel that the vibration on the energy vibration of takeaway food is very low. So I don't actually eat it, but I actually happen to have just chips and curry sauce, which is literally nothing. And it ended up being, I was poisoned by the food last week. Which kind of proves the point that I definitely don't want to go in here any more takeaway anymore. So I think we have to take the responsibility for ourselves. And, there's a lot of people that they won't do that, or they won't try and make the effort at least. They want to go in and they want to take the tablet. They want to get the pill off the doctor. And when you tell them you have to have a lifestyle change, well, I don't want to do that, just give me a tablet. That's the problem with our society. I think people want a quick fix, and they're not prepared to do the work or do the changes. And as I say, I'm not perfect, but at the end of the day, I am trying gradually, bit by bit, to make changes.
But what you're saying there, I mean, that is correct, because I know someone personally who, and we're going to be talking about, there's a question in relation to smoking coming up, but I know someone personally who used to smoke and drink, and he enjoyed smoking and he enjoyed drinking, and most nights, or at least several nights during the week, you would see him standing outside the pub, which he actually owned and ran, and he'd be smoking, and he'd be jarred, for want of a better word, and it wasn't until he had a heart attack. When his body actually said to him, enough is enough, and he had a heart attack, he stopped smoking and he stopped drinking. And you look at him now and he looks 10 years younger.
Yeah, we can wear our body out, by oxidizing the cells too quickly, but it is a choice at some point. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is a choice. I don't know who said that, but it's true. At some point, this information here with Dr. Sarno's work and all these great people that sounds like you've interviewed, they've got the answers here. Anybody that wants to heal. But we want to blame it on the physical body all the time. And it's almost never, and I don't say that lightly, it's almost never the physical body. But we want to blame it on it. You just reminded me about taking pill. You guys call them tablets in Europe. I notice when I work with people, we call them pills. But the guy who did Robert Sapolsky, he did this documentary on National Geographic. He won the Genius Heritage Award for it, talking about the ulcers. You know, where have they all gone, Dr. Sarno said. They disappeared when back pain came in vogue because the brain doesn't no longer need to use ulcers. And so Sapolsky said that this team identified the ulcer bacterium. And he said, I'll wager that the whole, gastroenterological world went out and partied that night. Oh, now we can have a pill to solve it. No more needing to talk to the patient about their problems. But he said it wasn't like a year or two later they discovered that everybody in the world has this bacterium inside their stomach. We all have it. It only goes rampant when we're under stress. Okay, and we've all got herniations. We've all got arthritis. We've all got all these things in our body. They're normal, natural things that Dr. Sarno called gray hairs of the body. It naturally ages. But since we have this high-tech technology that can look deeply into the body, we're looking at things that have always been there. But now we're beginning to blame it on that stuff and trying, of course, to operate it and try to give pills to fix it. It doesn't work. Dr. Sarno said it this way, the brain will not be denied. If you've got something going on in your psyche that's causing you physical health problems, you can operate on it, or you can take a pill for it, or you can do acupuncture or whatever you want, but it's not going to stop it. It's only dealing with the effect. You've got to get to the cause, and it can get very dangerous. It can shift into dangerous things, and so we have to be responsible here. We have to be careful here, and I like the way you guys talk about this. It is about being responsible, taking over your own life, your own health here, understanding a little bit deeper. You guys are doing a great job here. I really like this. Thanks for the compliment there. We do try. We've spoken to a lot of doctors on the show, and natural healers and homeopaths and people like that who have given us great information about how we work and how our bodies work. One of the things I would say from a kind of positive aspect of the mind is that if you know you're consciously making the effort to keep away from the bad stuff and do the good stuff, take the good food, not drinking, not smoking, the normal, and you're doing your best with the budget that you have in what you can do, I think mentally that is also makes a change in a positive way because you're reinforcing your thoughts and what you're doing in your mind, that you're healing yourself by taking various products which are good for your body. Yeah, exactly. And that's what Bruce Lipton calls epigenetics. It is not the DNA. These things aren't inherited. They're there. But they're either red or not red, the genes. And so there's a skin on top of the cells. Epi means above, and genes for genetics. That we send signals to it. It's almost like a antenna. You're sending signals every day to your cells on what to do. And if you're constantly worried and stressed and anxious, then that's what you're telling the cells to do. To go bizarre, to go berserk. But if you're sending this great peace and calm and joy and happiness to your cells every day, that's the language that's sending to the unconscious mind for the cells to be well. And so it may sound bizarre and corny and cliche, but it is really about things like love and peace and happiness and joy that cause the body to rapidly begin to become well once again.
Well, here's a question. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was done.
One thing I said to Steve there, probably a couple of years ago, remember I said to you, Steve, we were talking about people in hospitals and people being unwell and the amount of people in hospitals. And I said, I wonder what the statistics are between the amount of millionaires in hospital and the amount of people who aren't millionaires in hospital. And I would hazard a guess, now I'm just hazarding a guess because of no statistics, that there's fewer or very few millionaires in hospital than there are ordinary people. Because one of the things that we obviously are worried about in the majority of cases is money to pay the bills, to pay our mortgage, to buy the food that we need to eat. Where if you're a millionaire, now I'm not saying that because he's a millionaire they don't have issues. Because the more money you have, the more problems you might have as well. But generally speaking, if you know what I'm talking about, if you're it doesn't have to be a millionaire, but you're a retired person and you have a nice pension coming in and you're going out to the golf course and playing your golf and stuff. The people who are on that, retired executive, who are on that kind of money, or a retired politician, that would be ideal for Ireland, who are on that kind of money and don't have the worries that the man on the street does. I'd like to see what the figures are regarding people in hospital on both sides. Remember we talked about that, Steve?
We did, yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. There's probably a study on it. They do studies for everything. They love to study because grant money is a good life for people. They get these big grants and they continuously study. They don't usually get anywhere. It doesn't ever prove anything other than cause and effect. Studies don't have no meaning in them. It's like saying, every time that it rains, the ground is wet. So wet ground must cause rain. They do this constantly. They keep saying, sitting wrong causes back pain. It doesn't. But they manipulate the numbers somehow. I'm sure there's a study done it. You reminded me of a study I saw a couple years ago. They went for years into the hospital talking to people. And they came to a really great conclusion that they believed that half of the people could leave the hospital that day if they would forgive themselves. And that's basically what I see in my work, this guilt and shame that these people have brought upon themselves, or they feel from their parents, or what's something that's happened in their life. It is a devastating effect to feel guilt-ridden and shame-ridden all the time. And so, I don't know. There's all kinds of studies. The vertebroplasty study was one of the big ones in my last book. Have you ever heard of that, vertebroplasty?
No.
It's this cement at the Mayo Clinic. These doctors invented this cement for these bones in the back when you crack them and have stress fractures in your back. And they were so thrilled with this procedure, and they did over 1 million of those across the world, worldwide. And they were so happy with it. And then they had noted, wait a minute. These doctors injected it into the wrong disc, and the person healed rapidly. Are we doing anything here? And so to their credit, the Mayo Clinic, along with another study at the same time in Australia, did a study on it to see if they were doing anything. And they came to the same results. It wasn't doing anything the whole time. The person's belief that it was healing them was healing them. And there was a 76-year-old lady in the study who was talking about it. She was up golfing. She fell and broke her back with that crack in it. And within a week, she was up golfing, and they told her, we didn't give you anything. That was a sham surgery. And so the brain is this powerful. It can kill us and it can heal us based on our beliefs.
Okay, so then the question has to be asked, because there are people out there who will be given a treatment like that, and they'll be told that, we're giving you a treatment, you should be okay after a week, and they come back and go, no, the pain hasn't gone.
Yeah, but they're the people, as we said earlier, who don't want to be healed.
They don't want to be healed,
yes.
Exactly.
Steve took the words out of Steve's mouth there. That's exactly what I was going to say. And, they're not doing it on purpose. They're not consciously saying, I don't want to heal, because nobody really wants to suffer other than maybe the sadomasochistic question that was asked there.
Yeah.
By the way, that study was about a dominatrix. They gave these college students this pain on purpose, I think inside of their leg. They hit them with this thing. And they were watching the brain scans of them. And they were watching the pain go to the centers of the pain center. And then they had this dominatrix come in and whisper in their ear while they were doing it. And they witnessed it changing positions in the brain to the pleasure center. As she was whispering these things in their ear, it actually became a pleasurable sense. And so we know that pain is pain because of the way we perceive it. We perceive it to be a suffering thing, but it's ultimately a protective mechanism for humankind to protect us. If your hand's burning or if something's hot or sharp, it's supposed to tell us that we're in danger, but it's gone awry in us. We're using it all the time. We live in our heads in this society, and we're constantly worrying and doing this and that and obsessing on the body and healing constantly. It's just gone haywire at some point.
So is there a way to actually reroute the pain? Like if you're going in for a treatment and the doctors turn around and say, well, look, there's going to be a bit of discomfort and pain. Is there a way that we can reroute that pain so it's not as bad?
Yeah, if you had that mental control, of course. Yeah, I'm sure there's some yogis out in India, some gurus there that can probably do that. I know Ramana Maharishi was able to do that. They operated on his arm without any anesthesiology, and the doctor could not believe it. He said he just stared straight ahead. He never flinched. He would just take his mind to another spot. Now that's control that most of us don't have, presence and mindfulness. But, it does get rerouted. I saw a study a couple of years ago. I can't remember the name of it right now, but the pain within the first 12 months is in a certain part of the brain, and after 12 months, when it becomes extremely chronic, it always goes to the emotional center, and that's where it resides. Ultimately ends up there. It's an emotional process after a lengthy time. And I think the study was, if I remember correctly, it said all pain ultimately after like a year is in the emotional center, which is Dr. Sarno's work.
Okay, so then what's come to mind, we have said this on the show, and it's been said on other shows as well, that your mind, everything that's going on in the world at the moment, we have to be very centered. And you are allowed for 5% either way. You bounce from the 45 to 55, but you don't go any further either side. You have to stay balanced and stay centered. Now, that makes sense because of everything that's going on the planet at the moment. There's a lot of doom and gloom information, and some people can be very flighty as well and all over the place. And I think being centered is very important. And what you're saying there kind of confirms it as well, that the more centered you are, the less chance of these things possibly happening. I'm just kind of making an assumption, but it sounds to me that the more in balance and in tune and centered you are, the less chance it's going to happen.
Yes, and I don't know if you guys saw the cover of my book, The Great Pain Deception, but it's the yin-yang balance symbol. That is it. That's ultimate presence. If you can practice mindfulness and become a master at it. And I saw Thich Nhat Hanh say this on YouTube a couple of months ago. He said, we talk about nirvana a lot in the East, but in the West, you folks talk about heaven. Now, they're the same thing with different words. But he said, ultimately, nirvana means having no more views.
Yeah.
That's a powerful statement because the world doesn't drag you under. You just are present and you're just experiencing it through your senses until it ends at some point, That's it. It doesn't really end. It doesn't end. It just goes into another form, of course. But it's about acceptance of the way things are. You don't accept pain or disease. I'm not saying that. Yeah. You accept your life the way it is, and the world the way it is, and you can take stances. You don't have to allow bad things to happen. It doesn't mean you give up on everything. It's just that you go along centered, like you're saying, Yeah. You may try to help people, but you can do it from a centered standpoint.
Of course. And one of the things that me and Steve talk about on the show, and we've told people about, is what we have formulated called the fluid belief system. And the fluid belief system, and we've talked about this at conferences, is all about the quote from Aristotle, which is, the mark of an educated mind is to entertain a thought without accepting it. So what we're saying to people is, like Bruce Lee would say with his martial arts, you have to be fluid. Well, your belief system has to be fluid, because when something comes in and challenges your belief system, if you can entertain the thought and be fluid with it, then you won't get all upset, or you won't get very defensive over it. You'll just see it as, well, it's new information, and I'm going to change my belief system because new information has come in to contradict what I knew yesterday, and I'm just going to change it, and my belief system is going to be fluid. And we have found, since we've been talking to people about that and using that process, that life is easier because we're not defending anything and the ego doesn't get in the way.
That's now you're getting to the higher levels of this work, the quantum field and quantum physics. That Aristotle quote I have in my book too. It's a great quote. The ancients always talked about water. Everything was metaphorically compared to water, how it flows. The water is the most powerful force on the planet. It will wear down a mountain over time, and yet you can't grab it because it's flowing constantly. And Einstein talked about the field. He called this matrix that we live within the field. It's in constant flux. It's constantly moving. Guess which ones are suffering the most? The ones who hang on. The ones who were hurt as children, who lost a loved one, and they hang on to that trauma, and their bodies keep reacting to it. Yeah. The ones who are able to flow with it and realize that was an experience in my life. It may be painful, but where's the next experience? So you're exactly right, ultimately. And it's the ego, of course, that is causing all of the problems, because the ego is the thing that won't let go.
Exactly.
The ego, every day of our life is being screened through the ego, through the past. We're always looking at it through our past. We're not looking at it as it's happening right now in this moment. If we were, there would be no more views. There would be no more perception. The trauma would be released. But ego's a powerful force. It's very hard to get rid of.
Exactly. And understanding the ego, we talk about this. We did a couple of conferences, and we do a talk on this. And we talk about the ego and the child mind versus the adult mind. And the child mind being... it suffers from the ego and the selfishness, because, you know, teenagers, when they're young, it's all about me, and the ego is there. And then as an adult mind, we have to get to the adult mind, which is humility and wisdom. And we all need to do that, and that's why we have a nanny state, because the nanny state is there for the people who have the child mind. And one of the talks, when I say we do the talk, that when we talk about it, we talk about understanding the transition between the child mind and the adult mind, and why we have to understand the ego and how that controls us. Well, we should be controlling the ego, not the ego controlling us.
And that is great too. You know, because, you know, the word ego means me. It's a German word that means me. There was a guy there was a doctor that really helped me with my first book. He's an American psychiatrist. He was amazing. The only psychiatrist I've ever met in my life that did not believe in drugs. It's hard to believe, but he doesn't believe in them. He calls it psychopharmomania, that they're killing us. But he is one of the world's greatest authorities on schizophrenia. He was one of the psychiatrists and a friend of John Nash. Do you remember who John Nash was?
I've heard the name, and I think if it's the same guy, I think I probably want to see one or two YouTube videos.
Well, he was played by Russell Crowe in A Beautiful Mind.
Oh, no, I didn't see the movie.
Oh, really? That was an Oscar-winning movie. Amazing.
I'm thinking of John Nash, actually. Sorry.
This guy, John Nash, was a genius, an American genius. He won some type of Nobel Prize, but he was seeing people. He was a schizophrenic. And I said to Dr. McKenzie one time, I said, every time I talk about Dr. Sarno's work in TMS, you keep flipping the conversation over to schizophrenia. I said, I don't know. Why are you doing that? I said, I don't even really know what schizophrenia is, other than I watched that great movie with Russell Crowe. He said, well, generally speaking, Steve, that schizophrenia is the simultaneous existence of an adult and a child in the same body. And when he said that, I knew exactly why he brought it up every time. That's the conflict. It's the me, the little wounded child, won't let go ever. It's still attached. It's hanging on. And we need to bring them together. And what Carl Jung called individuation, you need to unite them together into one being, one whole being again, you know. But so, yeah, you know, to me, it is all about quantum physics and the field of attachments and consciousness and things like that. But on the lower level, you know, it's about TMS. There's nothing wrong with your body. And so, yeah, it is this wounded child ultimately. And that's where Dr. McKenzie helped me understand Dr. Sarno's work at a much, much deeper level.
It is amazing. Sorry, go ahead.
He's the world's leading authority on separation. Right. When we're separated from somebody that hurts us, it destroys us.
It is amazing how it's all linked when you start getting into it, especially with the quantum field. We have been dealing with that regarding burn doctors and the quantum entanglement with the spooky device, about how you can heal at a distance as well, you know, which is Einstein came about with that. You know, he said it was spooky.
Yeah, he didn't like it, but he's getting proven wrong repeatedly. You know, that guy did an interview with me in China. The guy, the spooky device, I forget his name, John White. Yeah.
Oh
yeah, John White. Yeah, he was holding it up. I didn't know anything about it, of course, but entanglement is real. There's no doubt about it. That's why when a doctor tells you you're not going to heal, you're probably not going to heal because you're entangled with his unconsciousness. As well.
And then you have the quantum, the unified source field, which we've dealt with as well. But I'm conscious that we have questions as well, so I want to get off to the questions there. Steve?
Yeah, we do have questions. A lot of lovely comments coming in on the chat rooms as well. Just want to jump back very quickly. Earlier on, Haruki Murakami was the chap who said pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. And he says, Hi.
I'm going to write that down. Haruki.
I'll send it over to you on the Skype chat, but it's Haruki Murakami. He said, when you're running and you think, man, this hurts, I can't take it anymore. He said, the hurt part is unavoidable, reality, but whether or not you can stand it anymore is up to the runner himself. So, yeah.
That's part of Buddha's second arrow of suffering, he called it. You're going to have pain. We're going to have pain once in a while because we're human. It's the second arrow of your thoughts that are added to it.
Absolutely. Right, anyway, Joan is wondering, Steve, how does Steve regard dreams to healing? Because up to now, medical science has not been able to take a piece of brain tissue and say your dreams are stored here.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's a great question, too. I just mentioned Dr. Clancy McKenzie here. He's a dream programmer, and he programs these people to give them the answer. And he said, I've never seen it give the wrong answer in 40 years. And he talks about all these colon problems and stuff. And somehow he tells them these certain things. And during the night, they have a dream. They wake up and they write it down. And it gives them what the cause of it is. And Freud called it the royal road to the unconscious. You know, so the problems are coming from the unconscious, not the conscious. Okay, and so the answers are there within the unconscious. And so if the dreams are the royal road, why would you not want to go there? Which is right. But she's also right. Nobody's ever seen a thought. You know, how do you measure love and fear and things like that are the causes? We can't see them. We can't see them. And so, I'm not sure exactly what she's asking there, though.
I'm not sure exactly either. Joan, if you want to expand on that, please do. We've got a few moments left. And just very quickly, in relation to the books, I just typed the name of one of the books in there into you're probably familiar with audible.com. They do audiobooks. But if the books are there, let's say they're not a reader. I mean, honestly, I'm not a reader. As I always say to people, I know how to read, I just don't get pleasure out of reading. But if someone was to say have one of your books or John Sarno's books on Audible, will they get the same healing, the same level of healing from the spoken word as the written word?
That's a good question, and I talk about that in my first book. It looks like we heal depending upon how we learn as human beings. And I talked about it. Some people are visual learners. They like to read. They learn from reading. I was never a big one. It may sound funny as a writer that I'm not much of a reader. I've had to read thousands of books, but I don't get pleasure out of it either. I do it out of necessity. I'm a learner through my audio sense, my hearing. And I told Dr. Sardo on the phone, I wasn't getting anywhere with your books reading it until I bought your Audible book. And there was something deeper about connecting with my deeper psyche and my deeper self that began the rapid transformation. And so I learned through hearing. That's how I needed to do it. And then there are kinesthetic learners who learn by doing things. And so, that's a good question. I learn more through audio myself. But other people are the other way around. They like to read.
A man after my own heart, as I say. Because my wife, she's always got a book in her hand, and Alan's the same here. Alan might have one or two books on the go at the same time, and he'd be often saying to me, "Oh, this book, it's great, I can't put it down." And you're kind of going, "Really?" I would just throw it in the bin. Anyway, look, moving on. Moon Girl is wondering, is tree hugging a placebo, or also grounding or earthing? Now, I mean, we've done some research into grounding and earthing, and we do know that there are benefits, but it'd be interesting to hear what your thoughts are.
Well, I don't know if tree hugging means the same thing in Ireland as it does in America. What's it mean there?
I think it means hugging a tree.
Hugging a tree, that's it.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess it is the same thing. Belief is everything. And there are literally tens of thousands of examples of these things, like the great study that guy, Mr. Wright, was in, where his tumors disappeared. They were giving him sterile water, and the tumors disappeared rapidly. And they told him later, that was sterile water we gave you, and the tumors came back. And so they said, oh, man, he's going to die. So let's tell him we're giving him a stronger form of it. The drug was called carbamazine. And so they said, we're giving you this stronger form of it. And so they gave him sterile water again, and the tumors went away again. And then later on, he found out that he didn't get anything, and he died. His belief was vacillating back and forth rapidly. Now, I've always joked, well, maybe the solution to all of our health problems is sterile water. Maybe that's the thing. And so I believe that we can do anything, like that. But we are connected to this planet. I mean, we're the ones creating it from the inside out, through the quantum field. And so it is part of us. We are all tied together in entanglement, of course. And so we have to be good, caretakers of this, of our fellow man, of our fellow beings. But it starts at home. It starts with us. You can't love another human being unless you love yourself first. How could you?
True. Yeah.
How could you do that? And so once we learn to be grounded and centered and peaceful, it starts to connect with everybody around us. People used to go to India to Maharishi and just sit by him. He wouldn't even say anything to him, and his consciousness would start expanding into their consciousness. And so, yes, it starts at home. The heaven is inside of us. The answers are inside. Trees and that stuff, I believe in nature and in taking care of the world and all that, but it all starts at home, inside of us.
Yeah. I agree. Just in relation to the likes of drugs and placebos, I know a lady personally, I'm just throwing it out there, and she's always in pain. This woman, it's not the same person Alan spoke of earlier, but this woman, she's always in pain. There's always something wrong, and she's been offered a lot of solutions, a lot of different solutions, and her mindset is, oh, sure, I'll try it, but sure, it won't work on me. I know personally this woman has gone through several different doctors. She's been on a lot of medication. Medication, as they say, that would kill a horse. And she's been on it, and it's like, oh, it doesn't touch me. It doesn't do anything for me. And it's only like in the past couple of years that we've realised that how powerful her mind is, because she is taking strong medication. And you're wondering, how is she still walking? But it's obviously mind over matter. And I mean, have you found that as well? I mean, if someone is actually, never mind placebo, but if someone is actually taking a medication that should have them counting sheep on the flat of their back, is it possible that the mind is so powerful that the mind can override the effects of this medication?
Yes. Remember I said earlier, Dr. Sardo used to say the brain will not be denied. You can medicate it, drug it, cut it, whatever. It's going to complain. It's going to complain and moan about things. But the gurus in India would tell you, when you say it's not going to work on me, that you don't want it.
Yeah.
When you say it's going to be tough for me, they'll say you don't want it.
That's it.
Because it doesn't have to be. You've made up your mind that it's going to be. And if that's how you perceive it, then that's going to be tough on you. When you say, I am healed already. You understand? This is not about healing. There's nothing to heal. There's nothing wrong with the body. Your brain's trying to make you think something's wrong with the body. It's about you allowing healing to happen. And when you resist it like that, you're not allowing it to happen.
That's it. I have a family member now, and I'm sure they're tuning in, and they know the person I'm talking about. And the person is like that, and they're convinced that nothing works for them, and they're actually telling themselves that it's not going to work. The same way that you say, "Oh, I don't sleep. I don't get any sleep at all. I can't sleep," and they're telling themselves, they're programming themselves. So yes, we know who that is, and
they're sending signals to their body not to sleep.
Yeah, exactly. They're programming. Now, Steve, we have a lot of questions here, and we have probably about 13 minutes left. So what we're going to do is we're going to quick fire these questions over to you. So, okay. We'll try and get a little bit of an extended answer then. We don't need a one-line answer. You can have a bit more on that.
Sure.
All right. So, Steve.
Yeah, there are some questions, but we just kind of, some of them are kind of repeating themselves, and some are kind of the same questions, so we just kind of throw them all in together. But Joan is wondering, does your guest speak of light healing? This is something that has popped up. When we've had people who speak about healing, this has popped up from time to time on the question, the Q&A. Light healing. I think it's something to do with light language. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Yeah, that's a good question too. Ultimately, it is all energy healing, because consciousness itself it has a very subtle frequency to it, and that consciousness is light itself. And I don't know if you're talking about like specific types of bulbs and lights and things like that, but energy healing, that's where it's going. Light is energy, and anger is energy. These things, emotions are energy. Cancer itself is this energy source gone out of control. It keeps mutating itself. And so I've actually been working with some of these people who do energy healing. And so yes, I think things like that are where medicine is ultimately going. It's going to be all energy healing in the future. And I'm actually met some people right now that are doing it. They're healing childhood trauma through the quantum field and things like that. So that's where it's going, yes. And so I don't know exactly what she's talking about, but I agree. I think that's where it's going.
Okay, good answer. Graham is wondering, is it if it is possible for the brain to manipulate or project disease and trick the body into thinking it's diseased, wouldn't it be possible for external malevolent forces to also manipulate the perceived environment, i.e. by something like 5G or EMF exposure?
Well, yeah, that's an interesting question. I've never had that one before. I think we talked about this when we are centered ourselves and we are grounded ourselves in the present moment and in love and truth, that there's not too many things that can hurt us. Although I suppose you can't stop a malevolent force at some point. I don't know. That's a good question.
Well, you can really, because again, we're dealing with energy, and there are ways to actually wrap yourself in energetic protection. And it's done all the time on a spiritual level. And it's not something that you'd go into your doctor and talk about, but you'd go into maybe a faith healer or somebody who understands this on a level that's high energetically, because, you know, we are all energy. That's what it is. At the end of the day, we're all atoms vibrating on a frequency. And we can manipulate. If we can manipulate our bodies, we can manipulate the energy around us. I've actually done it with a lady I know who's a Reiki healer, and I did it when she was giving me Reiki. So it can be done, but again, you have to be kind of centered and grounded and know how to do it, and surround yourself with this energetic coat or curtain of protection. But it's not for this interview, because that's really getting into, again, the unified source field and quantum healing and all that kind of stuff on the spiritual side. But I also believe that your level of consciousness is very important. The frequency that you vibrate on. Again, it's not just about being... You could be centered, but still have a low level of vibrational energy. Your consciousness could be low level. And I think that has to be high as well. It's all part and parcel of the whole package.
Right, exactly. Well said, well said.
Steve.
Okay, there's another question. It was kind of asked as a private message, so I won't give out the person's name. But it's in relation to curing or ceasing smoking. And this person has said that he has tried various different ways. He's even tried hypnosis, and it didn't work. And I'm just wondering, can you share any light on why his brain will not let him quit smoking?
He needs it. You know, Dr. Sardo coined that phrase TMSing. It basically means obsessing. Okay, your brain is obsessing. It's taking you out of this mindful moment, the present moment of now, like Eckhart Tolle would call it, the now. And your brain's taking you away. And the reason it's doing that is because you don't like what you see right now. And so anytime you're obsessing, whether it's TMSing on your body through pain and disease or gambling or smoking or drinking, whatever, you're trying to escape. Those are escapes. When the person loves themselves and is happy with content and peaceful and surrendered to right now, you no longer need to escape with things like that. So he basically needs it.
Okay. So, well, if he needs it, obviously he needs to keep on doing it, so.
Well, and there's also a chemical addiction, too, but that fades very rapidly, which we don't have time to talk about. I wish we did, but I have all these people who are going through drug withdrawal syndrome, you know, trying to get off their antidepressant stuff. They've been trying for years and years and years, and I'm telling them, you healed from that years ago. And when they realize that they're TMSing, that their brain is making them think that they're not healing because they still need a diversion in their life to the physical body, sometimes they heal right there. I just worked with a lady in Toronto that happened to, and she sat there and cried that the pain was gone. She thought she was having drug withdrawal syndrome, but she actually had Dr. Sarno's TMS.
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, with the smoking, for myself, when I went to give up, I think 2010 was when I stopped smoking. I just said to myself that I wasn't giving up smoking. I just wasn't going to have a cigarette today. So I never said I was going to give up smoking, I just said, no, I'm not going to have a cigarette today, I'll have one tomorrow. And then the next day, and then after 3 or 4 days, when the nicotine gets out of your system, which is the addictive part, then it's just willpower after that, and it was cold turkey.
That was smart. That's basically, when you said that, it reminded me of Lao Tzu's statement, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
Yeah.
If you look at it as 1,000 miles, you're already exhausted before you started. If you look at it, all I have to do is take a step.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. All these sayings. We normally say the orchard of 1,000 trees has to be started with the first tree.
Exactly.
So the smoking was programming my mind to say, no, I'm still a smoker. I'm still smoking. I'm just not going to smoke today. And that's how I kind of programmed my mind. And if you look at the top hypnotherapists out there, like, what's his name? Paul
McKenna.
Paul McKenna. I seen him in Wembley Stadium. And he talks about the reprogramming of the mind. And when people have a phobia, or say you're in a car crash, he'll get them to play it back, going backwards in their mind, but have funny music like Benny Hill on it. And it just kind of takes the stress out of it when they picture that, of the accident going backwards, but with Benny Hill music. Benny Hill music, you probably don't know him. He was
he got me through puberty.
Okay, say no more. Yeah. And this is it. So there's all different ways, and we do program our mind. We do have a habit of doing that, and people do programming their mind. When people say, "Oh, I'm afraid of heights or arachnophobia or whatever it is," it's all programming from either themselves, or for them seeing somebody else do it, or maybe the parents have passed it on, because maybe the mother's afraid of spiders and they pass it on to the kids because they see the mother being scared of spiders.
Do you know what? That happened. That actually happened in my case. I had actually had a fear of spiders, and like I still kind of do to a degree, but not all of them. Only big ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was kind of passed on from my mother, because my mother had a fear of it, so therefore we would have seen that as kids. And then when I went up and I had children, and there was a spider in the house, I made there's a children's television program, and on it they refer to as spiders as Mr. Skinny Legs. And anytime there'd be a spider in our house now, I go, oh, there's Mr. Skinny Legs. And because I've done that, my children are not afraid of spiders.
Yeah, and it's the programming.
Yeah.
And as parents, we have to be aware with our kids about passing on any phobias and things like that. And I suppose, as you say with Dr. Sarno, it's all about the mind. It's all about us being centred, understanding it, dealing with it, and just mind over matter.
Right, and you reminded me, I was working with a lady years ago on her back and hip pain, and when she got over it quickly, she suddenly developed arachnophobia. And that's the way it works. Your brain is diverting the fear. That's what it's doing. When you're afraid, the fear is so high. Anger is actually just an effect of fear. It's an emotional response to the fear. And so when you're TMSing, you're obsessing on the body. You keep your riveted attention on it. And then when that's gone, when you realize there's nothing wrong with my body, as long as fear remains, it needs to be diverted somewhere else. And so hers happened to go that way. The most common one I see that shifts once their TMSing stops, they start to become extreme fitness people. I mean, they start obsessing on everything they're eating, every calorie. They're reading labels. They're running. They've got the Apple Watches. They're looking at every heartbeat. They're still TMSing. They don't realize it. Remember, the word TMSing is equivalent to obsessing.
Yeah. Well, listen, looking at me and Steve, there's no fear of us doing extreme exercise there, Steve, is there? Yeah, you're not on video. If you're on video, you'd say what we mean. we actually think about it, and we might talk about it, but actually doing it is another thing.
We just get
thinking about it.
Yeah, we just get exhausted even thinking about it.
Yeah, I think we also have to be careful with the fight and flight, because the mind is fantastic, but we do have the fight and flight there just in case. And yeah, there's one thing, dealing with arachnophobia, not being afraid of spiders, but as Steve says, if you see something, you're living in Australia and there's a black widow spider there, you don't go over and treat it like it's a normal spider, because they could generally kill you.
Yeah, but again, you don't have to be afraid of it, you just have to respect it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right,
yeah.
That's what I was saying earlier, that these things are natural defense mechanisms to protect our lives. You know, we have to have a little bit of fear. Like I said in my second book, we have to have some fear, or we would get married without prenuptial agreements at some point. You know?
Well,
So, you know, fear is good to a certain point, but it's gone awry in these people. Something happened in their childhoods that they're in fight flight whenever they contact me. Constant fear. The mind is sending signals that they're under attack constantly.
Yeah, exactly. No, we have to be aware of that. So tell us, Steve, what's the future for Steve Ozanich? What's your future hold? What have you got planned?
You know, that's a cool question, too, because I'm a practitioner of presence work, you know, and so I don't even know what I'm doing later on tonight. I'll take a peek once in a while, of course, but I am not worried about anything anymore like I used to be, a worrier and planner and controlling. It's a very controlling personality, by the way. I am very happy here in this moment talking to you. It's the only thing that's real. It's the only reality in my life right now. And so, but you know, if I have to take a glance, it's going to be the lecture circuit. I've been invited to speak all around the world, virtually dozens and dozens of countries. I started a new book, but that might take forever. I don't know. The first one took 10 years. But I want to keep this message alive. I told Dr. Sardo before he died I would carry on his work. And thank you again for the opportunity to do this and for giving me the time to talk more about it. So it doesn't sound, I know it still sounds bizarre to some people listening, but I can tell you this, it works virtually every single time. And I have so many weird cases. The body does so many weird things, and they heal from them. But they have to become more present, accept life the way it is, become happier, get out of your mind more. You know, we've got to get out of there. Become happy at some point.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, everything that we talked about tonight on the show, we have mentioned at some time before on OYM, and OYM is all about opening your mind and challenging what you're being told, the dogma that you're being fed by the media, and you know that you have no control, that you have to give your power and energy and control to the government or to the doctors or to the education system. And we deal with that, and we try and educate people and talk about that and bring people on like yourself, which is brilliant information. If people want to try this out, I mean, basically all you really have to do is buy your book or Dr. Sarno's book, have a read of it and give it a go. But the caveat will be, make sure you want to heal and not, you know, don't go in with closed mind saying, oh, it's not going to work for me. Because if you go in with that attitude, hey, guess what? It's not going to work. So you have to go in with an open mind.
Exactly. Good point, too. You remind me of this. I have a TMS Healing Wall of Victory that I started on YouTube. I wanted to share all these amazing stories that I'm seeing. So I asked the people, would you mind recording that and putting it up on YouTube to show people? And there was a chiropractor recently who was on there, and he gave the most amazing talk. 23 minutes he stood there without any notes talking about how, you know, chiropractic is the wrong way to go. That's a mechanical way of thinking. When I started working with him, he was so crippled. He was walking around his chair in circles. Now he's healed, and I understand he's given up his practice. He's gotten out of chiropractic. But he said in that video, his name was Matt Lyon, by the way, he said, I went to an orthopedic surgeon who said, oh, you're just going to be one of those bad back people the rest of your life. And in the video, he turns his head sideways because it was disgusting him. You know, he said, that right there is the voodoo curse. That's the voodoo curse. When the doctor tells you you've got a problem that you're not going to be able to get rid of, he said, you're giving away your authority, your power to heal to somebody else. Just like you just said. You cannot, the doctors cannot heal you. I know that scares some people because they rely on them. Well, no, not if you're bleeding to death, right, or a bone is sticking through your neck or something, right? They do have, like, what was her name, Lorraine, I think you said earlier?
Dr. Lorraine Day, yeah.
And she's right. There are certain things we need them for. We really do. They're great people. Most of them are great people, I should say. But most of the time it's not coming from the body, and they are perpetuating it by telling things like that. Oh, you've got a bad knee or a bad hip. You're ceding your authority away to somebody else. They're not going to heal you. They have no power over you. And Andrew Weil is one of the people who says that. Dr. Weil, there's nothing I can do for you. I can facilitate it by trying to hook you up with this and that or whatever. So ultimately, we have to take responsibility. So I'm glad you said that. Actually, you've said that several times, which is important.
No, that's great. Listen, Steve, we have to let you go, but thanks a lot for coming on. Much appreciated. I'm going to pass you over to Steve, and we'll quickly get your contact details where people can find you. Steve.
Sure.
Yeah, already, Steve, there's a lot of people on the chat room looking for a part 2, because obviously we've just only kind of scratched the surface, whetted their appetite, and they want more. We do have a link to your website, which we do I've posted up several times, and it is Ozanich.com, so we will put that up again, and we also have popped up as well some of the other links that you gave us, and most importantly the one for Dr. John Sarno, All the Rage. We've put a link up to the website there, alltheragedoc.com, and obviously you're on YouTube as well. Do you want to throw any other links that you have there that people can follow up on?
Yeah, if anybody's curious, they could go right to that, what I just mentioned, the TMS Healing Wall of Victory. I want to build this massive wall of people that have healed, and they've got all kinds of weird things that they should have never healed from. Their doctors told them they would never heal from, including things like autoimmune disorder, and they're well now because they saw past what their doctor was saying. They saw that it was not their physical body, that the physical body was just a report card of what was going on in their life.
Excellent. Well, listen, Steve, we'll have to let you go. But listen, thanks a lot for coming on. Just stay with us there for a minute. We'll be back after this.
This is Open Your Mind Radio on OYMradio.com and peoplesinternetradio.com.
Okay, we are back there. Sorry about the little bit of dead air when we went to the musical break, but as Alan did say, the software that we're using, it is kind of problematic from time to time, so we are running a debug here to try and isolate exactly what's going on, so it won't happen again.
Yeah, well, that's it. We'll send over the log files tomorrow to the software company and then see what they can sort out. We'll check the podcast when we finish now tonight and see what happened there. And we'll check it out. Right, okay, next week on the show we have Peter Goldman and Tony Moinavero. Now, we'll probably do half a show with Peter and Tony because we're just playing catch up with them. We did some training with Peter regarding learning and teaching him how to do podcasting. He bought all the equipment, and I spent about 2 or 3 hours with Peter showing him what to do, and he's now off and running and doing his own shows and getting them up on YouTube and everything else. So he's done really well. Fair play to him for doing that. And it's something that we've said before. If people want to learn how to do it, by all means get in touch with us, and we're more than happy to talk you through either podcasting or live shows. Now, live shows are a bit more involved and a bit more technical, a bit more involved there. So you might want to start off doing podcasting first if you want to do that. And then if that's the case, then contact us, and then we'll see what we can sort out for you. We are also talking to a well-known guy that everybody kind of knows in the business, if you want to call it that, called Gordon Maxwell. Now, Gordon's been around a very long time, and he knows the system inside out, the alt media, and what's been going on. And I've been emailing Gordon, and we're trying to schedule a show for Gordon to come on in the next few weeks. So I'm sure a lot of people will look forward to that, because he's one of the oligarchs when it comes to the alt media. He's been around a long time, and he's been doing it a long time. So it'd be great to have him on. And there's a few other people that we're going to be we're talking to as well for coming on the show for the next few weeks. So it's going to be a busy few weeks anyway. It's going to keep us busy. But that's it. What have you got planned for the week? Anything happening?
No.
You never asked me about my Valentine's Day.
Oh, Jesus. Sorry, how was your Valentine's Day?
Well,
wait, you waited 2 hours to say that to me. Seriously?
Well, look, wait till I tell you. I was in the bedroom.
Yes.
And my partner came in.
Yes.
And she told me to take off her dress. And I took off her dress. Then she told me to take off her bra. And I took off her bra. Then she told me to take off her panties, and I took off her panties. Then she told me never to wear her clothes again.
Oh, God, that's so...
The old ones are the best, aren't they?
Yeah.
No,
okay.
I actually, Valentine's Day, would you believe, I met a guy... Okay. This is a business.
He brought you roses.
Yeah. This was business, by the way. Not pleasure. I met a guy called Valentine on Valentine's Day. Would you believe that? He was a really nice guy. He was originally from Zimbabwe, and he's living over here. and he's working in Dublin, and he wanted to touch base with me regarding a bit of business. So I met up with him, and it's just strange that you meet a guy called Valentine on Valentine's Day. And would you believe that we spent probably 3.5 hours talking?
Did he buy you flowers at the end?
No, but we had a couple of cappuccinos. We had a good chat. So interesting guy, interesting background. He's no plans to go back to Zimbabwe.
Well, once he marries you, he won't have to.
No, he won't. Yeah. Maybe he's looking for a green card or something. And he's not pushed till he married. Yeah.
I know you don't swing that way, but money talks.
No, money talks. Well, there you go. When you get it, you get it. No, people get the wrong idea of OYM and us too. We're just two old fogies having a bit of fun. Valentine's Day, I don't know. What's that? Paddy's Day next.
Yeah, and you know what, you'll have a meeting on Paddy's Day and you'll probably meet up someone called Paddy.
Yeah, it probably will be. Well, all the Easter eggs are in the shops. I mean, as soon as Christmas was over, literally when Christmas was over, the local shops had the bloody Easter eggs in and all.
That's crazy, isn't it?
But that's commercialism.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is. Easter eggs in. They have the stock in the stock room. So, it's Patrick's Day. Take it all out, put it on the shelf. It's just unbelievable. So we'll have Patrick's Day. Don't know what the weather's going to be like. Normally rains over here in Ireland on Paddy's Day. That's the traditional thing. I don't know whether we're going to have a local Paddy's Day either, because we haven't had in a couple of years now, isn't it?
Yeah. There's the parade that we normally have there. It's not officially a parade because seemingly you have to have a license for a parade. So what we generally have is a gathering of people, is what it's actually officially known as. So yeah, will there be one this year? I honestly don't know.
No,
it's hard to say at this moment in time. I don't know. I haven't heard any whispers.
Okay, so we'll just have to see what happens.
But I do know the man who would normally do St. Patrick at the parade. He met with an accident there last week, and he's actually in hospital at the moment with a broken hip.
Okay, okay, so that's interesting. My family member, as I said last week, she took bad. She's on the mend and she's doing really well. Just to let you know, and. I haven't heard back from that Chinese restaurant at all. They haven't rang back. They took my details, but they haven't rang me back. So, were you
expect them to ring you back though?
Well, they asked me for my name and number, so I don't know why they wanted that if they weren't going to ring me.
They wanted to blacklist you. That's what they wanted to do.
Don't serve him curry and chips anymore, Okay, well listen, we're going to let you go. Have a great week, folks. If you have any information, send it over. I have been busy this week with everything going on with the relative that's in hospital and up and down the hospital visits and everything else. It's been busy, so there's a bit of a backlog. I am going through them at the moment. I'm just having a quick check to see if there's anything on the cards here that I need to touch base on. No, that's okay. That's fine. So we should be good to go. For this week on playing catch up on a few things anyway. There are a few things going on in the pipeline, but we'll keep you posted. I did put a couple of posts up on my Facebook page there, the private Facebook page. If you're on that, you can check it out. But for myself anyway, Alan James, take it easy, have a good week, and stay safe. And if you have any news, short news, guys, and if you are going to send a link, please put a description with it. I don't go near links that just are links on their own. They have to have a description. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Take care and see you next week. Bye bye.
Okay, and if you're in the mood for some more chat and light entertainment or heavy entertainment, whatever tickles your fancy, Barry Prince is up next on People's Internet Radio with the Big Puzzle, and tomorrow evening. The Three Amigos are back on PIR at 9 p.m. That's GMT. Everyone is welcome. And as I say, join us for open-minded chat and call in, if you like, in the second hour. So that's the Three Amigos tomorrow evening. And that's it, really. Thanks for everyone who joined us on the chat rooms, both of the chat rooms this evening. And thanks for the questions and the comments. We love you all, and don't forget now to check out the website as well. As I mentioned at the beginning of the show, Patreon. If you fancy donating the price of a cup of coffee, or a cup of tea, or a cappuccino, or a green tea, that's the place to do so, and that's much appreciated. So,